that person is going to be drawn to you again, especially if they have narcissistic tendencies. It will do what it knows best to do to basically pull itself from death. Now we have different planes of existence. You cannot exist in that reality. It is your God-given gift that they did leave. You just need to let karma be the bitch that you would like to be. And this is where you will find the most healing if somebody has left you, and why it is not your fault and has absolutely nothing to do with you. Y'all, the energies are intense lately. The astrological alignments are in full swing. Let us dive into today's video. I probably do not need more coffee. Regardless, here we are. So it has been a hot minute since I feel like I have made a video, guys, and do not mind the taping of the nose. That is a whole nother video in itself. I'm just keeping the swelling down. Anyway, today's topic comes from multiple conversations that I've been having with you beautiful souls revolving around the relationships, and essentially relationships ending in particular, and in traumatic ways for people. When we part with our partners, so your ex-person, what happens energetically and why they get into a relationship really quickly. They move on essentially, and that can be very painful and almost like a slap in the face to you. I want to discuss what goes on energetically, why the person does what they do, how it has nothing to do with you, and how you just need to let karma be the bitch that you would like to be. So let's dive into the video. So first off, guys, let's discuss what happens when we get into a relationship and why we get into relationships. In particular, I'm going to be talking more about trauma bonding in this experience or this video, because essentially that is what happens as an end result of people parting and in traumatic ways. So essentially, guys, when we get into a relationship with somebody, our energies are combined, right? We become one person. So what draws us together are those energies, are basically our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, who we are as a person, what we think ourselves to be, the ego, right? When we attract our partner, they are of equal energy most of the time, of equal vibration, right? We're on the same wavelengths of energy. So there's different ways in which people can be of same frequency, and you can think of this as like just high vibrations or even low vibrations. Most of the time you will see, if you really analyze it, people of like vibrations be in a relationship. So most of the time people are of the same attractiveness, like the level of which they look. Sometimes they even look like one another. They have either make the same money, they have the same taste in life, they like this similar things in life, they have the same goals, personality, you know, that could be of equal vibration. Or you can have different things of equal vibration. So you can think of it as like a man who makes a lot of money but might not necessarily look the best, right? But because he makes a lot of money, he's high vibrational, because money is a vibration. And then he might attract a woman who is younger, maybe looks very pretty, but doesn't necessarily have a lot of money, but yet her attractiveness is a high level of vibration. So she is of equal match on the same wavelength. And dependent upon the values of the people, of what they treasure in life or what is valuable to them, will also determine if they're on the same wavelength. So this is kind of what brings us together. Now, part of this, guys, this magnetic draw to one another is our subconscious beliefs. So trauma can essentially bring us together, and typically is what will happen when we form trauma bonds to people, right? So you can think of this as like subconsciously attracting the same partner over and over again, and not necessarily liking what you're attracting, but it's based upon your childhood wounds. I will pop videos down below explaining more about this, and even my own experience in my childhood, how it led me to attract the same addictive partners in my life. Essentially, what had happened was I come from a family of addicts, and I kept choosing addicts as my partners because I wanted to subconsciously heal them, right? And when I couldn't do that, because there is so much more complexity to addiction than what we can conceive of, it basically tore me apart and the other person. This is essentially what brings us together, guys. When you understand this, you better understand why the person does what they do, and why you should really analyze the relationship when it ends to better understand yourself. Based on the knowledge of what brings two people together, our patterns, right? Our programming, whether that be good or bad, conscious or unconscious, whatever brings us together, guys, that other person is supplying an energy for you, right? It is fulfilling an energy within you that you are looking to complete you, right? So this is where it kind of goes, I don't want to say wrong, but where it becomes a lesson is when we get into relationships where we're looking for somebody to complete an energy within us, and especially when we're unconscious about it. So for my storyline, I was looking for somebody to heal. I found my worth in healing other people, and it helped build me up. It helped bring me a sense of completeness rather than being complete on my own, right? So this is the goal before you get into relationships and where people meet their soulmate, is when they are fulfilled on their own, being single, doing the things that they love without looking for love or energy or another person to supply something for them, to complete them, to heal them, whatever you want to call it, give them safety. That was another one of mine. So if you both are basically not in healed states, being complete by yourself, you might come together and form bonds in which you're supplying this energy that you want or need or desire to make you feel complete in one another. And that is okay, don't get me wrong, especially if you're conscious, you can help give each other what you need and build each other, evolve each other up in a good direction. But when you're unconscious, let's say one person evolves while the other person is not evolving at all. They're staying on that same vibrational plane. Let's take the addict, for example. Somebody is an alcoholic, right? They keep drinking alcohol to suppress themselves, whatever. They're in the party stage. They want to stay there, right? They don't really want to do life any other way. They don't want to participate. Where this other person, when they met, maybe that they were on the same plane in the party stage, right? Maybe post-college or something like that. Where this person here is like, oh, well, I think I'm ready to evolve and do life. I'm getting older, I'm more mature, whatever. And so they start expanding their consciousness, their values change. They change as a person. You have this person here who doesn't change, stays on that same vibrational plane. Now we have different planes of existence, right? You cannot exist in that reality where they both were supplying an energy for one another. Now they're on different vibrational planes. Now this person down here doesn't have their party partner anymore, doesn't have the person that was supplying maybe a sense of worth or love or something that they had felt was love in the moment of going out and partying together, their companion. When that's gone, they are missing that energy now that you were supplying to them. And maybe they were supplying something to you and they could no longer fulfill, right? So now you're on two different planes of existence. Now you are not supplying that energy to one another. The bond is essentially broken. The karmic cycle is kind of broken, right? You still are energetically intertwined in this person in some form or fashion, depending upon how deep the relationship was. We'll take marriage, for example. Side note. Anyway, when this person now has a need, right? Your either partner or your ex-partner has a need. They are looking for an energy, right? You are no longer supplying that. They are no longer fulfilled in the relationship. So they are going to start looking in other places to be fulfilled in said relationship. This is where people will look for other people for sexual fulfillment, for, maybe they're not getting what they need out of the relationship. They will start looking for safety in other people. They will start looking in other people, or even other, like we'll say addictions or things like that, to bring forth a sense of fulfillment that they were missing in the relationship. You can fill this void with work, you can fill this void with people, purpose, whatever you want to call it. But most of the time, what ends up happening, because humans are social creatures and we are sexual creatures as well too, just by evolution, they will look for other people to give them that energy, right? And especially if it's traumatic, they will use other relationships to avoid looking at themselves, right? They will use other relationships to avoid understanding why they are looking for something to complete them rather than choosing themselves. And this is where you will find the most healing if somebody has left you, and why it is not your fault and has absolutely nothing to do with you is because you have to choose yourself, right? And if somebody jumps into another relationship, they are not choosing themselves, or they are too afraid to do the inner work, or they're not even aware of what has to be done. Because if you basically jump into another relationship rather than analyze your relationship and work on yourself, understand your role in the relationship, whether that be whatever you want to tell yourself, good or bad, understand what led you to the point of either one, wanting to leave the person, or two, them wanting to leave you. Either way, it's neither right nor wrong, but you're just going to want to learn about it, right? Come at it as a sense of just learning and non-judgment. It's not your fault that they went and did something else, and it's not your fault if you want to leave either. It is truly just understanding and a self-acceptance that the relationship served you and the other person in the allotted, we'll say, time frame or reality that it was supposed to, and then spirit will nudge you when it's time to part, because you will part. That is the whole reason of why you did. Otherwise, you would still be together. So that is what I want you to take away from this part of the video, is the other person leaving you or jumping into another relationship is just them avoiding the inner work that they need to do, because it's hard. It is very difficult to look at ourselves, especially from a place of non-judgment in relationships. There's a lot of emotional tie. We basically become one energy when we intertwine our energies with somebody, and dependent upon how deep the relationship was and how long you were together, it literally is a death and a rebirth cycle, guys. Your ego will die with this person, and essentially it is like that person died. There is like a piece of your energy that died with this person. So you legit go through a grieving process. And because humans don't want to feel that uncomfortableness, they don't want to feel the emotions that go along with heartbreak, right? Because that is one of the hardest emotions basically to process, is grief. I feel like it feels like death to the soul. So essentially the soul is going to do what it knows best to do. We'll just say the evolution of the soul in the moment with that person, or the ego that it is playing in the moment. It will do what it knows best to do to basically pull itself from death, to make it feel better. And most of the time, if we don't understand this, naturally we are going to repeat our coping mechanisms. We're going to repeat our patterns. This is where karma is going to play in. So you'll get sucked into another toxic relationship of the same partner, or the same situation, different partner is going to be playing out for that person, or even you. If you're not conscious about it, you'll find people pick up old addictions, or maybe get back into addictions, or you'll start seeing them use other people, talking to multiple girls. You'll see them lash out, maybe go through the party phase. Each soul will deal with it differently and the which way that they see best. So to prevent this, guys, you have to be aware. You have to be aware to not fall back into the pattern. And this is the greatest gift, is your awareness and understanding that if you focus on you and you analyze the relationship, and even if to say that, like I said, that person left you, or that nothing was your fault, because technically it's not, but even if you were broken up with, the person left you, whatever so may be, analyze what got you to that position. What were the actions that you were taking? What was the downfalls, or where did you see a difference in the relationship or something shift? Okay, you're gonna wanna try to figure out what the pattern was, okay? Don't stress yourself out about figuring it out, but it's just going to help you not repeat it, right? And it helps you become more aware of your own patterns, your own needs, whatever that was the bond that you were forming with this other person, whatever energy that this other person was supplying for you, right? You're going to want to know what that is, so you better understand yourself and how to give that energy to yourself ultimately, guys, when it all boils down to it, when we can't choose ourselves first, when somebody's not meeting our needs, our values, things of that nature in a relationship, you have to really analyze if you want to be with that person and if it's a make or break for you. If there is some form of uncomfortableness that you cannot get over, if you're being emotionally betrayed, more so of you're communicating your needs and your values, your desires in a relationship that are non-negotiables, and the other person is not meeting them, or they change, or they're in a cycle of they'll try to meet them and the cycle repeats, because that will be what happens inevitably. If somebody cannot meet those things, it is up to you to choose you or to give those things to yourself. Your relationships or your external world is a reflection of your internal world. You will only attract what you believe that you are worthy of in your life, and that is your job, your relationships, your money, whatever, right? So you want to build yourself up enough to either leave the relationship, shift your mindset to see, I want to say, love in the other person, and accept them for who they are, or leave, right? Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in a hell, pretty much, right? A relationship from hell. Why people stay is because they don't have the confidence enough to choose themselves, right? And this was the whole problem to begin with in the relationship, which forms the trauma bond, is when you are not fulfilled with yourself, right? And when the relationship ends, you want to find that self-fulfillment, so then you can be complete on your own and not look for other people to provide something for you that you cannot provide for yourself, right? Because when they leave, inevitably and eventually they will leave. We will lose everything in this lifetime, right? You came into the world with nothing, you will leave with nothing. So inevitably that person will fall away or they will change. So you have to be able to give yourself what you need in the moment, depending upon no matter what your external world looks like, right? And it all boils down to self-worth, self-love. How can you provide that for yourself, or how can you hold those emotional or internal states of being, right? Depending, no matter what your external world looks like. And that's what you are going to want to focus on and working on yourself, right? Most of the time, people find that it is, besides a state of being, they find this love and this self-worth through understanding their purpose and going after it and doing the things that light them up in their life, really working on themselves, basically doing like a little glow up of body, mind, spirit, getting into spirituality. Maybe that is going back to church, or, doing what I do, energy work, stuff like that, meditation, going and just building yourself up energetically the best that you can, and not looking for relationships. That is the number one thing you do not need to be doing right now, is looking for relationships. When you are happy and fulfilled in yourself, the relationship will show up. You will see that 9 times out of 10, that when you are satisfied is when the universe will throw you another curveball and just be like, are you sure that you're ready for this? Or even if you're not, you'll accidentally fall in love, probably. And then but this time it will be with your soulmate. And where people, I feel like, find their soulmate is not necessarily, I want to say, the same soul. I don't know, I could be wrong in this, maybe I am, but it's essentially like everything that you went through with your previous relationship just better built your skills in relationships, and better allowed you to understand yourself, your values, your desires, your needs in a relationship, because you understand now what you don't want. So now a person of like vibration shows up and you sense it. You were complete on your own, but now this other person that you're finding yourself falling in love with, you're just feeling adds value. It just enhances your life. Instead of falling in love, we elevate in love. So this person not necessarily completes you. Life is just better doing it with them. So you're adding value to one another, right? And this is where relationships can be an evolutionary tool for the soul, not necessarily triggering one another and growing that way, which it can be. But when two conscious people come together and they understand, you know, how human psychology works, how energy works, they are fulfilled in one another, they are whole in themselves, and they understand the importance of communication. They understand giving one another what they need. You have communicated to them what you would like in a relationship. You guys have similar values, right? Similar goals. There is something beyond yourself that you are now a part of with this relationship that is more fulfilling or feels better than just doing life by yourself, right? So this is what you're going to want to look for in relationships. But first, you have to be complete with you on your own to experience this, right? You have to be complete with yourself, because if you are not, you are going to be fearful of speaking your truth, of your needs. You're going to be people pleasing. You're going to be something for that person that is not authentic to yourself, right? You'll lose yourself essentially in the relationship. This is where, guys, when somebody leaves you in the relationship or moves on, it is nothing to do with you. It is your God-given gift that they did leave, right? That they are moving on. Allow them to have their own lesson with God or karma, right? Let karma do its work. You really don't need to do anything. And honestly, when you focus on you and you do what I said in this video, that other person will regret ever leaving you. When you don't go chasing them, when you don't get upset or pissed off, and you probably will, but when you don't show it to them, just allow them to do what they need to do, and you focus on you. Try to put your conscious awareness on the person that you want to be, what you want to create in your life, and it's even to say you can start drafting up your ideal partner. It's very important to understand what your values are at this point in your life. That other person is going to sense that elevation in energy. That other person is going to be drawn to your light and that relationship that they left you for, or the other women that they are talking to, or even to say, like, if the relationship didn't work out and you started focusing on you and they wouldn't change for you, because that was part of my thing too, of wanting somebody to change for me and feeling worthy enough of that. Whenever you work on yourself and you become the highest version of you, that person is going to be drawn to you again, especially if they have narcissistic tendencies. So you essentially don't have to do anything but just enhance your life. Let karma take care of what she needs to take care of with that other person, because ultimately every relationship will end the same for them. They will keep attracting the same types of relationships. Maybe some things might shift a little bit because they will see your relationship that you had as them being the victim. So maybe they will look for a partner that, maybe isn't as into spirituality and more in alignment with some kind of interest that they are in alignment with. But ultimately, the underlying core wound is still there. So it will end the same way. Just a matter of time. So anyways, guys, I hope this video helped you out. I hope it helped you see the reality and relationships and just the energies behind it. Guys, everything is energy. The laws of the universe don't change for anybody. This is the law. So you can rest assured that everything will play out how it is supposed to. All you can do is focus on you and not take anything personal. Understand the relationship evolved you to attract your ideal relationship, if that is God's will for you, and your will is God's will, right? You just have to let go of what you think that person or who it will be and focus more on the vibration or the feeling of that person. You'll feel them before you recognize them physically. Even if you write down the physical features. It's a whole nother video. But I'm sending you guys all my light and all my love. Sat Nam.